Joining us now is a close friend of Mike Pence and a surrogate for the former vice president, former Representative Jeb Hensarling. Jeb, thank you so much for being here.
I'm very happy you invited me.
Well, we are thrilled that you showed up and you're here to chat about this. So what do you expect to be the biggest issues voters dig in on tonight?
Well, number one, they want somebody who can actually win in November to carry along the Republican agenda, because if you don't, it really doesn't matter. Next, I think all the people I still speak to on the campaign trail, inflation continues to be the number one issue. And so Mike Pence is the first candidate to really put together a comprehensive plan to deal with inflation. I think they'll want to hear that. And he's also the one, I think the only one, who had the courage to say, here's the real solution. And it has a lot to deal with what we call entitlement spending. And without reforming that for future generations, you cannot deal with the national debt. You cannot deal with inflation. And then next, they clearly want a candidate who can deal with this crisis at our border. And so what they'll hear tonight is Mike's plan to ensure that from day one, we go back and we build the wall. From day one, there will be a remain in Mexico policy. And so I think what they also want to know is who is the true conservative in this race. And they will hear loud and clear that it was Mike Pence who was conservative before conservative is cool. And he's the true conservative, the movement conservative. And so in a state like Iowa, I think they're going to figure out that Mike Pence is the candidate that they want.
Well, I'm happy that you mentioned inflation, because that is a major issue for voters, and in our Decision Desk HQ poll, the top issue. But how will Pence navigate a GOP that is in majority firmly supporting another Trump presidency?
Well, there's a couple of ways to look at this. Number one, 99.9% of Republican caucus goers and primary voters have already voted for Donald Trump twice, including me. Happily did it. But 50% of them are saying, no, I don't want to do it a third time. And if you look closely at the former president's support, about a third of that is concerned, well, can he really win in November? I mean, right now, fair or unfair, President Trump is in a heated contest with President Biden to be the least popular political figure in America. If you looked at all the demographic groups that voted against President Trump in the last election, his numbers are even worse now. He is potentially the only Republican candidate who could lose to President Biden in the fall. And here's a news flash. You heard it from me first. Odds greatly favor that Joe Biden's not going to be the Democratic nominee in the first place. And so I think a lot of Republicans are ready to say, President Trump, we appreciated you. We liked your record, but it's time to move on and it's time to win. And so of all the candidates in the race, the candidate who is most committed, who knows the most about the Trump-Pence agenda, is most committed to the Trump-Pence agenda, has the most experience in enacting the Trump-Pence agenda, with one exception. That's Mike Pence. And that one exception, again, fair, unfair, my fault, your fault, nobody's fault. He cannot win in November. President Trump cannot win in November. And thus there will be no more agenda advancing the conservative cause unless Republicans do win in November.
All right, Jeb Hensarling, thank you so much for your perspective and your time.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.